And
Lots of things going on in Jamaica.
And this story is actually a warning. And
this
also,
is my story. I feel like this is about me. Let me tell you what it is. So certified electricians have a warning for Jamaicans, me. Quote, your neighbor may be stealing your electricity and fattening your Jamaica public service bills. That's according to Christopher Dell, who's an inspector in Westmoreland. He said that people should not overlook the possibility.
And he said it's very much possible. Now, on a meter socket, and listen carefully, you have two potheads. One is for JPS, and one is going to your house. Now, each pothead is coming down with an amount of wires.
Right.
You would have 3 wires. 2 hot wires, and the third is a neutral wire. Now, the one that's going down to your house, if the persons go up and put a piece of wire and take power from that one, they will be stealing light from you because that power will be registering through the meter. This is what they'll explain. Now, if somebody put up a wire on that one, they are stealing light from you, and your light bill will be climbing.
Ding, ding, ding. So Lenville Pottinger, an electrician in Kingston, said he received many requests from registered and paying JPS customers who have suspected that neighbors have infiltrated their power line. Now, upon investigation, their suspicions were proven valid. He says, and I quote, I have found it in tenement yards and even in residential areas like Norbrook and Cherry Garden. I have found it in various roads off Maxfield Avenue, Waltham Park Road, etc. It is a widespread thing.
Now, meanwhile, Devon Powell, a St. Catherine-based electrician, advised JPS customers to pay attention to their month-to-month energy consumption and have an expectation as to what it will be. He said you can plug out all appliances, switch off all the lights, and check from there if you see that power is still being used. Now, if you see an excessive consumption and you strongly believe that someone is stealing from you, then you need to get a professional to come in.
Mm-hmm. Like, so Dufton asked a really good question earlier.
Yeah,
Tell
so
him what you said.
The question I asked when I first saw the story was like, a professional, is it a certified electrician? Mm-hmm. And if so, where can we go to find certified electricians who can come in and check?
Yeah.
Or do we have to go through Jamaica
JPS
Public Services?
themselves.
So
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, so if JPS, you can advise us on this, or someone can, you can, because we say electrician, anybody can say, hey, I'm an electrician. But how do you find certified electricians?
Yeah.
Right? Just like how if you want to motor vehicle valuation, you have certain certified, you know.
But the truth is, and our cameraman was, or lighting guy and cameraman was telling us something before, that if you call JPS and say that there's high consumption or high usage on your line, they will actually send somebody out to come in and check it as well, which I feel is kind of the way to go, to be fair. Just to say. Okay. Because I definitely feel like, because my light bill went from being like $16,000, $17,000 a month, and then my blink, and it was $36,000 every month. And I continued blinking for a year. I just blinked. That's all that happened.
That actually happened to my parents like a long time ago.
And then the teeth it?
When my father turned off everything, the meter stays off.
Stays off. No, them teeth it.
I mean, it not even like it slow down enough.
It just like, speed up,
It cool him down.
It's true. And I know a lot of uptown friends of mine who, anywho.
Yeah, it was interesting. Norbrook and Cherry Gardens behave.
Sherburne Heights too.
So actress Regina King's son has died by suicide. Ian Alexander Jr. took his own life on Wednesday, the day he turned 26. He was King's only child, whom she shared with her ex-husband and record producer, Ian Alexander Sr.
Regina said, our family is devastated at the deepest level by the loss of Ian. He is such a bright light who cared so deeply about the happiness of others. Our family asks for respectful consideration during this private time. Thank you.
Regina and her son would sometimes walk the red carpet together for events, and it was apparent how proud she was of him. In 2019, he called her Supermom while accompanying her at the Golden Globes. He also said she's just a supermom. She doesn't really let bad work days or anything come back. And in the time that we have, it's really awesome to have a mother who I can enjoy spending time with.
Despite her growing success as an actor and director, King said that Ian was her biggest source of pride. As a mom that only has one child,
That's
Listen,
devastating.
I don't
That's
even,
devastating.
I don't know.
That's devastating.
One child,
And at
your
26,
one son,
At 26, he's like, really?
and suicide too. Suicide is such a hard one to understand because obviously the need, obviously there's mental health issues, and by mental health I mean anybody who is thinking about taking their own lives. That means that there's something, some chemical, something is not quite right. So Regina King, it's not Regina King, what's her name? Vivica Fox came out and said, she was crying profusely, and she was like, look, check in. We say this all the time at the end of the show, and I think we say it so often that maybe persons take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because it's just something you keep hearing, but check in on your loved ones. And even checking on the one that you don't even like too much either.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
checking on
even
everybody.
The ones they tolerate.
Because sometimes we don't really like them, you know. But even though you don't like them, you don't want them for dead.
You know, there's a
You know what I'm
post-
saying?
there's
So
a-
checking on the ones
there's
you
a
love
post-
and the one
there-
where you kind of not love,
there's
just kind of like
I think
little
it's the
bits.
last post on my IG feed. It speaks of men and suicide and how our rate of suicide is so much more
Yeah, than women.
than women. So
Yeah.
there must be
Yeah.
a serious cause.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the cause of it that the post was talking about is that people don't check in on men. It's like we are supposed to be okay.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be the protector, the provider. We're supposed to be the strength. We're never supposed to break. We should, none of that. Like none of that at all.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
always be the rock. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't. And if we, in a sign of weakness, or we crack or we shake, then you're a weak man. And that also
Yeah.
is berated.
And I disagree with
being-
that 100%, and you're so right.
Yeah.
Speaking of loss of men, gosh, the fashion world is in mourning. Fashion icon Andre Leon Talley, who passed away last Tuesday at a hospital in White Plains, New York, from a heart attack. He was only 73 years old.
Talley was instrumental to Vogue's vision and direction in the 80s and 90s when he worked his way up the magazine ranks to become the new director and then ascended to creative director in 1988. He was the first black man to hold his position at Vogue, and he left the company in 2013.
He will always be remembered as a trailblazer in the fashion world, not just for his stylish flair, but for his push to include more people of color on the runway, specifically black models. Now, in the 2018 biopic, The Gospel, according to Andre, he says, you don't get up and say, look, I'm black and I'm proud. You just do it, and it impacts the culture.
Then on Sunday night, it was announced that the fashion industry lost yet another icon. French fashion designer Thierry Mugler died at the age of 73. The designer's brand, Mugler, confirmed the news via an Instagram post describing its founder as a visionary whose imagination was as a couturier, perfumer, and image maker, empowered people around the world to be bolder and dream bigger every day.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's... What, you think?
Didn't, like 2 months ago, another fashion designer
Yeah,
passed?
that young black guy, Virgil, young. He was only, I think he was 47, something like, I'm not quite sure, check on it for me.
Right.
Is he like 41 or 47, but he was in his 40s. He died as well, but I think his was cancer. Yeah, again, there's a lot of loss in the world right now. You know,
There's a
Betty
lot of
White,
loss.
I'm like, okay,
Listen,
check in on people.
People need to like research the history of Betty White.
Yeah,
Betty White was very
yeah.
like that's people oriented, and she gave a lot of black people chances
Yeah, man.
and stood up even when it was
Everybody,
at
yeah,
her
she's
detriment.
awesome.
So
She's awesome. And I do think something as well, like give people their flowers whilst they're alive.
quite so.
And by giving them the flowers, I mean the accolades. The
Yes,
people that we
yes,
know are
yes,
impacting the
yes,
industry,
yes.
have, you know, Tiger.
Impacting anything. If it's
Whatever
impacting
industry,
you, if somebody
impacting
could be
you.
walking past
You
and
have a
be-
little mentor that said to you 20 years ago, you know, so you can be a comedian.
Yeah.
Give them, you know what I mean? Give everybody their
Yeah.
love and their flowers right now.
And
But,
on that note,
yes.
later I'll be right back with more BUZZ.
Bzzz.